Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Still in the hadith of the isbal, dragging the clothing, hadith number 192. We've maybe elaborated a little bit on this matter because for many Muslims it is not clear. And as I mentioned yesterday, even the legal schools of law, most of them consider dragging your clothing below the ankles, below those protruding bones above the ankle, those ka'bayn, considered it makruh, detested but not haram. But we had mentioned the hadith, multiple hadiths actually, that clearly show that even if somebody does this not out of pride or arrogance or showing off, still that person is probably committing a haram. He's committing a sin, and actually a major sin. ما أسفل الكعبين فهو في النار. We say this because if you look at the hadith, it seems that Messenger ﷺ would prohibit people from doing that without questioning their intention, like without giving consideration to whether or not they're doing out of pride. He would say to the Sahabi, اتق الله وارفع إزارك, fear Allah and lift your clothing above your ankles. Down to cover the ankles is still okay, but below that is not okay. That is when the haram applies. Also, one time he said to the Sahaba, when he mentioned to them that they should not allow the garment to go below the ankles, those protruding bones above the ankle. One of the ladies, the Sahabiyat, one of the women companions, said, فَمَا تَصْنَعُ النِّسَاء, what about the women? So he said to them, he gave them the exception. He says, تُرْخِينَهُ شِبْرًا. The women, and that's important to mention that. What I just mentioned about dragging the cloak or clothing applies to men. As for women, they are allowed to go below. They are allowed. He says they are allowed to go below by this amount. This is the shibr. And then I think it was Salama, the wife of the Prophet ﷺ, she said, she said, إِذَنْ تَنْكَشِفُ أَقْدَامُهُنْ. He said, but still the foot may show while she's walking. When she takes a step, if it's only this long below those protruding bones, he said, the foot will still show. And of course, at the time, I don't think the women in general wore socks. It is a hot environment and things were not available like they are today. So she said, but then their feet may show. He says, تُرْخِيهِ ذِرَاعًا وَلَا تَزِيدْ. He said, it can go even as long as the up until this long below. And she said, and she should not make it any longer than this. So obviously, if he was just talking about the prohibition of people dragging the clothing out of pride, he would have said, I'm only talking about people who do it out of pride or arrogance. No, but he clearly was talking about the outward appearance. The outward appearance, regardless of the intention, should not be below those ankles. And the exception was made for women so that their adornments do not show. And some people may say, okay, what is with the foot? Doesn't attract men. No, some men could be attracted to the feet. And also sometimes women would be wearing things on their feet, other adornments like bracelets on their ankles, sometimes rings on their toes, things like this. So Islam calls for hiding the foot, even when the woman is outside. Even the foot is required to be hidden and not shown to strangers, and that is protection for the woman and protection of the honor of the husband. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen that we are Muslims, that Islam protects our women from other men gazing at them. This is only for Muslims, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Otherwise, women of all other religions, they do not adhere to this. And that, of course, is every time anyone looks at, is a strike to the honor of their husband or their father or their brother and so on. They say even going below the ankle, even for men, would expose, for instance, najasa. If there's uncleanliness as he is walking, it will expose his garment catching any kind of uncleanliness. The Sahabiyat asked the Messenger ﷺ about this. He says, يطهره ما بعد. The earth that comes after it would cleanse it. Like one of the ways of removing defilement in Islam is using earth, rubbing something with earth. As you know, when he talked about the dog's saliva coming into a pot or something, he says to be washed with earth. So earth is considered, just like water, a cleansing medium. So he said that in case a woman is dragging her clothing or garment, then when she passes after that defilement on pure earth, that would be a kind of purification for it. Now, so this is what I wanted to mention about isbal. And these hadith we are reading talk about thalathatun, or the kind of people Allah does not look at, which means la yukallimuhum Allah, Allah does not talk to, does not give them consideration, does not look at with mercy, and does not absolve of their sins. وَلَا يُزَكِّيهِمْ وَلَهُمْ عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ, and for them is a painful punishment. He mentioned al-musbil wal-mannan wal-munfiq sil'atuhu bil-half al-kadhib. We talked about these three: the people who drag their clothing, the people who remind people of their favors after they do it, and the one who sells his commodity using false oath. And then another hadith by Abu Dharr, and Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam قال ثلاثة لا يكلمهم الله يوم القيامة الذي لا يعطي شيئا إلا منا. Same kind of thing, but different wording depending on the Sahabi how he memorized it. The one who only gives things so as to show his favor upon others and to remind them of it. والمنفق سلعته بالحلف الفاجر, and the one who sells his commodity using false oath. والمسبل إزارة, and the one who drags his clothing. Same kind of three. And then another hadith talking about other three people Allah does not talk to and does not absolve of their sins. He says, and does not look at them. وَلَهُمْ عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ, and for them is a painful torment. He says, شَيْخٌ زَانٍ وَمَلِكٌ كَذَّابٌ وَعَائِلٌ مُسْتَكْبِرٌ. This is different, totally different. شَيْخٌ زَانٍ means an elderly person, not elderly, somebody who's mature. Shaykh in Arabic doesn't mean somebody who's like in their 60s or 70s. No. The word shaykh in Arabic could mean somebody even just older than 40. They would consider him as shaykh. So somebody who is an adult, mature adult, and still indulging in zina, in adultery. Also, Malikun Kadhab, a ruler who lies to his subjects. وَعَائِلٌ مُسْتَكْبِرٌ. And you can see وَعَائِلٌ مُسْتَكْبِرٌ means somebody who is poor and destitute, but still he is arrogant and proud and feels that he is better than other people. Normally you should feel like other people, or that you feel less than other people around you. You should humble yourself. And there are certain things that may happen to the person and should make him more humble. If you are poor, you should feel a little bit broken and humble. But for him to be deprived like this and still proud, what would he do if he was actually rich and powerful? So, and also, if he is a shaykh zanin, if he's somebody who's in the 40s or 50s or 60s committing zina, what would he have done if he's a teenager or in his 20s and 30s? You follow? And also Malikun Kadhab, a ruler who lies, because the ruler has power. He does not need to lie to subjects. So that is why, because there is no strong motivation for such people to commit these sins, their committing of these sins is a sign of disregard for Allah Azza wa Jal and defiance. That is why their sins are amplified and augmented in severity, and the punishment is also augmented. And he said, Zanin, Kadhab, Mustakbir means this has become a quality for the person. Not that he fell into this sin one time and corrected himself and felt remorse and he's trying to cleanse his past and make himself a better person. No, he is a Zanin. Kadhab means Kadhab. This is something he's doing regularly. You follow? And also Mustakbir means he has the quality of arrogance. It is something that is with him all the time. So these kind of people as well have been, and of course this hadith is totally different than the previous hadith. Probably this hadith was mentioned in a totally different setting from the previous ones who mentioned three other kinds of people. Stop here, inshallah.
last year that you cannot fold the trouser from the bottom, right?
No, you can fold it. You're supposed to fold it. If it is below, if it's going below the ankle, you're supposed to fold it and make sure it doesn't go below the ankle. Are you talking about during prayer? Yes, I see. No, it is mustahab. It is the folding that is detested or disliked in Islam if it is already not below the ankle, or here it is down to a normal length and still the person folded. Like you go for wudu and you go like this and then you wash your hand and then you come to pray and it's still folded. That is what we shouldn't do. That is what we should try to let it loose and make it bring it back to its normal length. But it shouldn't be even below. Even if you raised it a little bit, you should not allow it. If let's say somebody raised it like this to make wudu, okay, then he should bring it down just to the ankle. But if it is longer than ankle, definitely has to fold it, because this other ruling is only mustahab. It is something that is encouraged, but it's not an obligation to make your clothing loose. You follow? Even the hair. We'll talk about even the hair. If somebody holds his hair up like in a ponytail or something during salah, it is encouraged for him to let it loose, but it's not an obligation. And that is, but here we're talking about haram and halal. We're talking about something that is serious. So to apply a sunnah, you shouldn't really commit a haram. You follow? To apply a sunnah, you shouldn't commit a haram. And some scholars say that we are commanded not to fold our clothing, or even if you're wearing a big garment, you don't fold it up like this while you're praying. You let it loose, and your hair, you let it loose. They say because you want to make sujood to Allah Azza wa Jal in your whole entirety, even with your garments and your hair and everything, should make sujood with you and shouldn't be held from making sujood. You follow? And ruku'. Now.